Welcome back to the channel, US Rare Coins News, Top 1. Today we are talking about a coin that looks simple, sounds common, and gets overlooked all the time, yet it comes from one of the most unusual periods in US coin history. This is the 1967 Kennedy half dollar, and it's not as ordinary as people think. Most people see the date and assume there's nothing special here. No mint mark. No big anniversary. Just another Kennedy half dollar. But that's exactly why this coin fools so many collectors. Because 1967 was a strange year for US coins, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why some of these are far more interesting than they appear. Put the coin on screen and zoom in. On the front, you see President John F. Kennedy's portrait, calm and sharp. Flip it over and there's the presidential seal, the eagle with its shield, arrows, and olive branch. Strong design. Clean look. But here's the first surprise. You won't find a mint mark anywhere on this coin. And that wasn't a mistake. In the mid-1960s, the US Mint removed mint marks completely to slow down coin hoarding. That means every 1967 Kennedy half dollar looks the same at first glance, whether it was made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. That alone makes this year unique. Now here's the part most people miss. The 1967 Kennedy half dollar is made of 40% silver. That already gives it intrinsic value, even if it's worn. At the time, silver was being pulled from circulation fast, and people were saving these coins the moment they appeared. That's why finding them in high condition today is harder than you'd expect. Zoom in closer on the details. Look at Kennedy's hair. Look at the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. Some coins show weak strikes. Others show unusual texture or light doubling in the letters. These aren't scratches. These came from rushed production and worn dies during a chaotic time at the mint. Here's where collectors really lean in. Some 1967 Kennedy half dollars were struck on flawed planchets. Others show off-center strikes, die cracks, or incomplete details. These errors weren't supposed to escape, but a few did. And when they surface today, they don't stay on the market long. Now for the cliffhanger most people don't expect. Proof-like coins. In 1967, the mint did not release traditional proof sets. Instead, they issued special mint sets with higher quality strikes. Some of those coins have deep shine, sharp detail, and a look that almost feels like a proof. And collectors absolutely chase them. Here's a quick visual test. Tilt the coin under light. If the surface reflects evenly and the details stay sharp across the face, you may be holding a premium example. That's where the value jumps. Now let's talk real numbers. A worn 1967 Kennedy half dollar is usually worth its silver value, often several dollars depending on the market. Uncirculated examples commonly sell between $8 and $20. Error coins can sell for $50 or more depending on the type and strength of the mistake. And high-grade, proof-like examples have sold at auction for several $100s when condition and demand line up. So before you dismiss this coin as just another old half dollar, take a closer look. 1967 was a strange year. And strange years often produce the most interesting coins. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a 1967 Kennedy half dollar? Have you ever found a silver coin where you didn't expect one? And which Kennedy half dollar would you love to add to your collection? Top 2. Today we are talking about a Kennedy half dollar that most people would never think twice about, yet collectors know this one can be surprisingly hard to find in the right condition. This is the 1983 Kennedy half dollar, and it's a coin many people unknowingly spent when they probably shouldn't have. At first glance, it looks like nothing special. No silver. No anniversary date. Just a regular half dollar from the 80s. But here's the twist. In 1983, something unusual happened at the US Mint, and it quietly changed the future value of this coin. Stick with me, because the reason matters more than the coin itself. Put the coin on screen and zoom in. On the front, Kennedy's portrait is clean and familiar, with sharp lines and a strong profile. Flip it over and you see the presidential seal, the eagle centered and bold. Classic Kennedy design. Now tilt the coin slightly so the light moves across the surface. This is where the story starts. Look just below Kennedy's neck and you'll see the small D mint mark. That means this coin was struck in Denver. Millions were made, so you'd think they'd be easy to find today. But here's what most people don't realize. In 1983, the US Mint did not release standard uncirculated mint sets for collectors. That single decision changed everything. Most 1983 D Kennedy half dollars went straight into circulation. Banks released them. People spent them. They got scratched, worn down, and forgotten. That's why finding one today in truly uncirculated condition is far harder than the mintage numbers suggest. Now zoom in closer on the details. Look at the hair above Kennedy's ear. Look at the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. On many coins, you'll notice softness in the strike. On others, you might see doubling in the letters or uneven pressure from worn dies. These aren't damage marks. These are mint-related quirks that collectors pay attention to. Here's where things get interesting. Some 1983 D Kennedy half dollars show off-center strikes. Others have clipped planchets or die cracks that run through parts of the design. These errors happened during fast production, and once they escaped into circulation, they became instant conversation pieces, but the real cliffhanger is condition. Most surviving examples are dull and worn. Finding one with full cartwheel luster, sharp edges, and clean surfaces is the challenge. When collectors find one like that, they stop scrolling and start bidding. Here's a simple visual test. Slowly rotate the coin under light. If the shine rolls smoothly across the surface and the details stay crisp, you may be holding a premium example. That's the difference between a common coin and a collectible one. Now let's talk real value. Most circulated 1983 D Kennedy half dollars are worth about face value to $1. Clean uncirculated examples often sell for $5 to $20. Error coins can sell for $50 or more depending on the type and strength of the error. And top-grade examples have sold at auction for several $100s when condition and demand line up just right. So before you ignore an 80s half dollar, remember this. Scarcity doesn't always come from low mintage. Sometimes it comes from heavy use. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a 1983 D Kennedy half dollar? Have you ever checked your half dollars for uncirculated condition or errors? And which Kennedy half dollar would you love to add to your collection next? Top 3. Today we are talking about a Kennedy half dollar that almost everyone ignores, even though some collectors will stop everything when they see it in the right condition. This is the 1986 D Kennedy half dollar, and the reason it matters has nothing to do with silver. Most people hear 1986 and instantly lose interest. No silver content. No special anniversary. Just another modern half dollar. But here's the part that surprises people. This coin comes from a period when half dollars were barely being used at all, and that changed what survived. Let's put the coin on screen. Tight close-up on Kennedy's portrait. The hair detail. The strong jawline. The lettering around the rim. Flip it over and there's the eagle, shield centered, wings spread wide. Classic design. Nothing flashy. But now tilt the coin under the light and slow it down. Because condition is everything with this one. Just below Kennedy's neck, you'll spot the D mint mark. That tells us it was struck in Denver. Millions were made, but here's the catch. By the mid-1980s, half dollars had almost disappeared from daily use. Vending machines didn't want them. Cashiers didn't like them. People spent them once, and then stopped seeing them. That means many 1986 D half dollars sat in bags, vaults, and rolls for years. Sounds good, right? Not always. Coins stored in bulk often picked up contact marks, scuffs, and dull surfaces. So even coins that were never truly circulated still lost their original look. Now zoom in closer. Look at Kennedy's hair above the ear. Look at the word Liberty. On many examples, the strike is soft. The details blur together. But on sharper coins, every strand stands out. That difference is what separates ordinary from collectible. Here's where things get interesting. Some 1986 D. Kennedy half dollars show noticeable doubling in the lettering. Others have die cracks running through parts of the design. A few were struck slightly off-center or on flawed planchets. These weren't intentional. They were the result of high-speed production, and they slipped through unnoticed. Collectors love these moments. Because once an error is found, the hunt begins. But here's the real cliffhanger. High-grade coins. Truly uncirculated examples with full luster, clean fields, and sharp rims are much tougher to find than people expect. Most survivors just don't look that nice anymore. Here's a quick test. Rotate the coin slowly under a single light source. If the shine moves smoothly across the surface like a wave and the details stay bold, you're looking at a strong example. If the light breaks or fades, it's probably been marked or mishandled. Now let's talk real numbers. Most circulated 1986 D. Kennedy half dollars are worth face value to about $1. Clean uncirculated examples often sell between $3 and $10. Error coins can sell for $20, $50, or more depending on the type and visibility of the error. And top-grade, certified examples have sold at auction for several $100s when condition and demand come together. So before you toss aside an 80s half dollar, remember this. Modern coins aren't rare because they're old. They're rare because people didn't care enough to save them correctly. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a 1986 D. Kennedy half dollar? Have you ever found a modern coin that looked better than expected? And which Kennedy half dollar would you love to add to your collection next? Top 4. Today we are talking about a Kennedy half dollar that came out at the turn of the millennium, a coin most people didn't save, didn't notice, and didn't think twice about. This is the 2000 P. Kennedy half dollar, and what makes it interesting isn't how old it is, it's how it quietly disappeared. When people hear the year 2000, they think modern. Common. Worth nothing. But here's the twist. This coin was struck right when half dollars were already fading out of everyday use. And that timing changed everything. Put the coin on screen. Tight close-up on Kennedy's portrait. Smooth fields. Clean design. Flip it over and there's the eagle, balanced and bold, shield front and center. It looks familiar. Almost too familiar. But now let the light move across the surface, because this is where the story starts to change. Just to the right of Kennedy's neck, there's a small P mint mark. That tells us this coin came from Philadelphia. Millions were produced, so on paper it sounds common. But here's what most people don't realize. By the year 2000, half dollars were barely circulating at all. Banks didn't order them. Stores didn't want them. Most people hadn't used one in years. So instead of being spent naturally, many 2000 P half dollars sat untouched in mint bags or got pulled out once and tossed into drawers, jars, and boxes. That creates a strange situation. Coins that weren't heavily circulated, but also weren't carefully preserved. Now zoom in closer. Look at Kennedy's hair above the ear. Look at the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. On many examples, the strike looks soft. The details blend together. That's because worn dies were often used longer than they should have been during this period, and this is where collectors slow down. Some 2000 P Kennedy half dollars show clear doubling in the letters. Others have die cracks running through parts of the design. A few were struck off-center or on flawed planchets. These aren't damage marks. These happened at the mint, and once they escaped, they became instant collectibles. But here's the real cliffhanger. Condition rarity. Because so few people cared about half dollars in 2000, very few 2000 P coins were saved properly. Finding one today with strong luster, clean fields, sharp rims, and no marks is far tougher than the mintage numbers suggest. Here's a simple visual test. Slowly rotate the coin under a single light source. If the shine rolls evenly across the surface and the details stay sharp from edge to edge, you're looking at something special. Most examples fail this test immediately, and now the numbers. Without hype, most circulated 2000 P Kennedy half dollars are worth face value to about $1. Clean uncirculated examples commonly sell between $2 and $8. Error coins can sell for 20, 50, or more depending on the type and strength of the error. And top grade, certified examples have sold at auction for several $100s when condition and demand line up just right. So the lesson here is simple. Modern doesn't mean worthless. Sometimes it means overlooked. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a 2000 P. Kennedy half dollar? Have you ever checked modern half dollars for errors or condition? And which Kennedy half dollar would you love to add to your collection next? If you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe for more hidden coin stories, and watch the next one where we uncover another everyday US coin that most people still aren't paying attention to.